What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Mars through the first house to the 12th house. So we're going to go through each planet and go through the first house to the 12th house. So we're going to start off with Mars. All right, let's get to it. So we have Mars in the first house, right? The first house has to do with how people perceive you. The first appearance, it's pretty much like your aura. That would be the first house, what aura you give. You know what I'm saying? So Mars in the first house, that also has to do with like your physical appearance. So Mars being in your first house, you would deal with a lot of actual things that have to do with your physical body. Whether it's you're in the military, um, you do karate, you do some type of martial arts, you're actually physically using your body in a Martian way. Because the first house has to do with your physical appearance. So that's what the Mars manifests as. It's more of something that you're passionate and you like to use your body in, whether it's UFC like martial combat, um, whether it's sports because that's also physical. So you're like a very sporty person, and a lot of people can see the physical Martian energy on you. So your body's like you're very well fit. Most Mars in the first house people tend to, whether it's earlier in their life or later in their life, get into shape and they have that Martian energy with that Martian physical appearance. And they're also very Martian like where their passion they show it on their sleeve when they have to. You know what I'm saying? That's Mars in the first house. They might have also like bruises and things like that in their body that reminds them of certain scenarios and experiences that they've went through that had to do with very passionate things. You know what I'm saying? Because Mars can either be passion or it can be like aggression and anger. It goes either way. So Mars being in the first house, you would have had to do a lot of physical, passionate things with your body, and certain things can be very detrimental, and certain things can be like well, I guess useful, like going to the gym, working out, things like that. You know. So that's how it goes. That's Mars in the first house. So yeah, you like to show your passion, and people can see that when they first see you. You know what I mean? You're very passionate in what you do. Even Mars in the first house can also even do with like you're very comfortable with your sexuality, like you show it too, because Mars is also it has to do with passion. So you're not afraid to show that part of you. You know what I mean? You like to show that, and it's something that is part of your personality. Because that's what the first has to do with. It's like your personality energy. So you don't mind showing that Martian part of you. So that's yeah, Mars in the first house. Um, Mars in the second house would be someone that has the energy of they're very passionate about their stability. That is something that they that's what drives them each day to live is to make some form of stability, whether it's money, um, living quietly in a neighborhood, but they're very passionate about that. Like they're even Mars in the second house, I feel like can also manifest as hoarders though, because Taurus is all about physicality. You know what I mean? Second house. And if you're on Mars there, you can also be very passionate about things that remind you of some form of stability um, throughout your life. And sometimes you can be too passionate where you have so many accumulated physical things to remind you of certain experiences and certain memories and emotions that it actually clogs up your whole living space. So you have to be careful of that, you know. That's Mars in second house. So you're also very passionate about things of the earth. So those are the type of people that if they're in a higher spiritual sense will have the energy of land activists and things like that, environmental activists or people that like to take off the land. They're very passionate about Taurus like things. They're very passionate about the earth, the physical, materialistic things, and the soil. You know, they like to ground. They're very passionate about grounding. Those are the type of people. They're very passionate about, but at the same time they can also be very passionate about, because they're Venus things, so things that bring them comfort, you know. Um, so they have to be careful of excess eating sometimes, because Taurus has to do with the throat. So Mars in the second house, you have to be careful of that too, because it brings you some form of like stable emotion, you know. So you have to be careful of that. Mars in the third house. Mars in the third house would be um your surroundings, right, or your mind. So you're very you manifest a lot of like experiences of Martian like experiences within your surroundings. Whether it's you see a shootout or you see some neighbor fighting each other or something like that. It's like Mars in your third house. It's like all about your surroundings. And also you can be very, the way you speak is very like Martian like, it's very passionate and people can see it. It's very aggressive sometimes. Because you got Mars in your third house. Or you like to think like you'll be the type of person that likes to watch action movies, or you like to read about like crime novels and things like that. Just give me a second, guys. So you'll be the type of person that likes to read, yeah, crime novels and very gory type of movies. Like you like the gory type of movies too, because that's that. It's like Martian. It's like fighting movies also. And you'll be the type of person that has a lot of knowledge in terms of like different type of wars, world wars and things like that. You have a lot of knowledge on um like Martian like type things. Whether it's you're a judo master or a UFC veteran or something like that. You have a lot of knowledge on martial like things. Whether it's what is it, karate and things like that. Yeah, military knowledge, um, military strategic, like those type of people, like because Mars has to do with also physicality and like I said, moving, passion. So with it being in the third house, that's third house has to do with knowledge. It has to do with Mercury. So you like to learn about these type of things, and you like to speak. And the way you speak, it can be very passionate and very aggressive, but it can also be very captivating too. It can also be very sexual the way you speak too, because Mars is there too. So it can be very seductive also. Um, but yeah, it can also manifest, yeah, like a lot of Martian experiences within your neighborhood and within your city. So that would have to do with like being in a very dangerous neighborhood. You know, yeah. Also, you could be very passionate about third house like things. So like thinking, like you're passionate, you like to read a lot. You're very passionate about that. You're very, because depending whether you have other, that depends on whether you have other planets there and other and what signs you have there too. Also, like if you have like Jupiter there, so you're very expensive. You like to expand on that when you think, the way you think, and you're very passionate about that. Um, if it was the moon, your emotional state is based on that. It's based on you being passionate about something that you can think about. You know what I mean? So that's the third house. Fourth house. Fourth house would be fourth house would be Mars in the fourth house will have to do with your home. So there's a lot of, so you're either very, you come from a very long lineage of military generals and military family, because fourth has to do with home, um, lineages and things like that. You're also very passionate about your home, so that's where you put a lot of passion in, is in your home. So you like to be home. You're like most of your activities is within the home. It's within the home system. It's in private. You don't really like to be out there like that. except if it's around people that you feel comfortable with. So you're very passionate about your comfortability. You're very passionate about people that you can be vulnerable around with your emotions. There's a type of people that you might also manifest a lot of arguing also with, though, at the same time, because it's Mars in the fourth house. So um the fourth house has to do with Cancer, right? Your emotional state is always, you're always at war with your emotional state. You know, your emotions goes up and down, and you can be very emotionally impulsive sometimes. Having Mars in the fourth house, you can be very emotionally impulsive to do things, and you do things and then think later. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be very careful about that. Um, but also you can be very passionate about family. You know what I mean? That is like, that's what drives you. Your family is what drives you. You know, you wouldn't do the things you do if it wasn't for your family. So those are the type of people that might also have a very deep connection with their family. And their family is very a big part of what they do in life. You know what I'm saying? So it's all based on the family. Like, yeah, everything is very based on the family. And that's Mars in the fourth house. You're also very passionate about things that bring things that bring you comfort, emotional comfort. So you might like to watch movies about, like, I guess, like, those type of drama movies, but that are based on family. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has a family, like, not really like Tyler Perry movies, but yeah, maybe kind of like Tyler Perry movies. You know what I'm saying? That is very like, it's on the edge, but it's based on family. You know what I'm saying? So you like movie type, those type of movies, whether it's action, even like a movie like Taken. See, that's like a Mars in the fourth house type of energy, where he had to avenge his daughter for getting kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a Mars in the fourth house energy. You're very passionate about your family, and you do anything for them. You know, it can go either way, or you manifest a lot of Martian like experience with your family, a lot of infighting in your family. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you're very also very charged up with your emotions, which can either be used for creative things and productive things, or it can be used for very destructive things. But yeah. All right, now Mars in the fifth house, that has to do with your creativity. So you might be very passionate about the way you express yourself. You might be very passionate about just experiencing life based on naivety. Like, you just like to experience things. You don't like to think too hard about it. You just like to experience and express it at the same time. You're very passionate about your, like, your ego. You're very passionate about your the way like the way people perceive you. You know what I'm saying? Because that has to do with Leo. So Mars in the fifth house has to do with Leo. So your passion comes from the way you express yourself. Your passion comes from your creativity. Your passion comes from meeting other people and learning something new also, and that's how you create your character. You know what I mean? Because your character is like the ego, the way you clothe yourself to express yourself to the public. So you're very passionate about the character that you create within yourself and externally. So those type of people will be very good at acting. You know what I mean? Because they got Mars and Leo, so they can be very dramatic. You know what I'm saying? They know how to be very dramatic and captivate the audience based on the way they express their body, the way they express themselves, the way they speak, all tied into one. Um, they can also, yeah, so they're very passionate about how they show people who they are. Sometimes they can be too much, where they do too much, and it might turn people off. You know what I'm saying? Because they do too much. It's too extreme, because the sun is exalted in the first house, and the first house is Aries. So having Mars in Leo is kind of the same energy, you know? So sometimes all they see is how they come across to other people. And that's what all they're passionate about, that they might lose themselves in their ego. So it's very important that they know how to utilize their ego in a healthy way. You know what I'm saying? because we're all here to have an ego, but it has to be utilized in a way that you can reach all your attributes and express yourself to the best ability that you can. Um, so yeah, Mars in the fifth house has to do with expression. So you would be the type of person that the movies, like let's say if you were an actor, you would like to act in the action movies. Those would be your main category. Um, what else? Mars in the fifth house. You can be very passionate about, being a, let's say you're a movie director. That is something that you're very passionate about. Like it's something that you strive for. You want to be the best movie actor. You want to be the best in whatever you do. Because having Mars is like you're very passionate, and then Leo is all about being the main center of attention. So you want to be the best at that. You know what I mean? You drive for that. You fight for it. And you're willing to do that to be the main center of attention. And sometimes you might manifest that where you have to fight other people just to be the main center of attention. Because that is very important to you. That is very important to you. You know what I'm saying? So it being Mars in the fifth house, like the is a lot of things you perceive is can be very like how would I say is that, let's say if you were to come across something that had to do with Mars, it would be very grand. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if you're someone that's very passionate about fashion, will be very grand. Your type of fashion will be very bold in your face. People will have no choice but to see it. So you like to make things very big and boom. It has to do with like bombs and explosions. That's like Mars in the fifth house. Like usually that's the type of like things. That's the energy. Nuclear bombs. That's a Mars in the fifth house type of energy. Where the Mars energy is exalted. You know what I'm saying? It's seen. You can see the Mars. So you can actually see a lot of perceive a lot of very like aggressive things. You know what I'm saying? You can perceive these things. You can see these things each time you go around other places. Because Mars and Leo is like that. Like it's very in your face when it comes to the Martian energy. When it comes to whether it's aggression or passion or whatever it is. Even when it comes to, let's say you're the type of person that likes um what's the word, like you would be, those type of people might be like in terms of like in bed and things like that, they might like to do things like they might role play. They'll be into role playing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like dramatic. It's expressive. It's creative. It's childlike. So that's the type of energy Mars in the fifth house would be. Yeah, they fight for their expression, and they like to be the main center of attention. That's what drives them. Mars in the sixth house is you're very passionate about your health. You're very passionate about your well-being. You're very passionate about your routine and pattern, and you like things very organized. You like things expected, like you already know what's going to happen the next day. That's what you're passionate about. Mars in the sixth house, Mars in Virgo. So you're also very passionate about servicing. You know what I mean? That's what drives you. Whatever you're doing, you like to service people, whether it's you being an entrepreneur and servicing people through your goods and services, and that's what drives you each day. It makes you very passionate. Whether it's servicing people psychologically, being a therapist, things like that. Whether it's servicing people, being a surgeon or a doctor, things like that. But that is what you're very passionate about. It has to do with some form of physical servicing, and that's what drives you. You're also very physical servicing of your body too. You know what I'm saying? You'd like to physically service yourself also, whether it's eating the right fruits and vegetables, whether it's working out, whether it's making sure your blood flow is flowing in the right type of manner. So you'll see a lot of Mars in the sixth house people. They're very passionate about their health. They're very passionate about what they eat, and sometimes they might be allergic to certain things because it might bring certain aggressive reaction out of them. You know what I mean, so a lot of them manifest a lot of allergies. Mars in the sixth house, so that forces some of them to have to be very healthy, thinking minded and physically. You know, um, so yeah, they're very also passionate by their hygiene. You know, Mars in the sixth house people, they're very passionate about their hygiene. They might have OCD type of cleaning, whether they're cleaning the house or cleaning themselves. They might have OCD because they do things over and over again, because that's what the sixth house is. It's something that is done over and over again as a routine and a pattern. You know, um, what else? They're very passionate about. So they might, yeah, they manifest a lot of things where if if their routine is disturbed, that is what makes them aggressive. You know what I mean? When their routine of trying to service whatever they're doing, that is what will make them aggressive. But if they have a nice routine of their form of servicing and they can be passionate about that, then it will come off in a way where it can be very productive for them because they'll be very mastered at that energy. You know what I mean? They'll be very good because Virgo has to do with perfection. You know what I'm saying? And they strive for perfection, sometimes a bit too much perfection, and it might ruin what they're trying to do. So they have to be careful of that, not to be too Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect, and just understand sometimes things are not going to go your way, and that is part of life, and you have to accept that. And the more they can do that, the more then things they won't be so tensed up and so rigid. They will be a bit more loosen up. So they have to learn that, and that would really help their body. But yeah, they're very like what would help them being that Martian is taking care of their body and internally and physically, and finding an organized routine to carry out throughout the day, each day of the week. Mars in the seventh house. Mars in the seventh house. Oh yeah, Mars in the sixth house. A lot of your passionate experiences might come either in the workplace or just whatever you're doing day to day. That's where you might manifest a lot of aggressive situations, things that you're doing in the routine and the pattern. Um, but yeah, but other than that, yeah, it's all about just learning how to be passionate about your routine that you've created for yourself, not a routine that you're lost into that other people created, because then you'll overthink things and you will never make things perfect till you do things in your own way. Okay, Mars in the seventh house. Mars in the seventh house, you manifest a lot of experiences that have to do with your relationships. So either you're very passionate about your relationships or you have a lot of fights when it comes to relationships and your significant other, whether it's business partners or platonic or romantic relationships. So yeah, you have to be careful about that. But having Mars in the seventh house is that you're very passionate about connecting with other people. You're very passionate about that. That's what strives you. That's where you get your most like your significant other is what gives you the boost to want to manifest things in life. So you're the type of person that when you do find someone that you can partner up with, whether it's romantically or business wise, it gives you a mental and emotional boost to want to manifest what you want to manifest together. You know, it's just sometimes it can lead to a lot of infighting and things like that. So you have to be careful of that. But other than that, you should be fine. What else? So yeah, Mars in the seventh house. You're very passionate about balance. You're very passionate about making things fair. So you're the type of person that will be a lawyer or a lawyer for underprivileged people. You know, things like that. You'll be the type of lawyer for this type of person having Mars in the seventh house. You're very passionate about the justice system. You're very passionate about you know making sure that things are not one-sided. You know what I mean? Because seventh house has to do with Libra, my art. So it's all about the scales. So if you have Mars in the seventh house, You like to make things. Yeah, you'll be under those type of profession. Um, you know, or charity. You're very passionate about charity. You know, non-profit organizations that can help people that are underprivileged that might not have the right income or finances to manifest things in their life. Yeah, that'd be like Mars in the seventh house also. Um, very passionate about your love life. You know what I'm saying? It's like you and your significant other might, you know, work out together and things like that. They might, you guys might do a lot of martial like things together, whether it's business type or romantic type or friendship type. But whoever you're partnered up with can either be a someone that is a partner or like a enemy. You know what I mean? So because that's what seventh house is. It's like open enemies or your partner. And it's an open enemy to you realize that though. It's not like you're already realizing it's an open enemy. So it's usually just you fall out with somebody. That's what we call out. That's what we call as open enemies. Just you fall out with someone. Now you can rectify that, or you can just go your separate ways. You know what I mean? But there's always that Martian energy where sometimes you might manifest being, you might have to be alone in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? You might have to learn how to be alone in a relationship. You might not always have to rely on other people, or you might be passionate about it, but you might manifest always having to be alone. You know what I'm saying? And you having to be comfortable with that. Mars in the eighth house. Mars in the eighth house, that has to do with like joint finances or the connection of two energies together. So you're very passionate about whatever type of connection you have with whatever emotional connection you have with someone or something. You're very very passionate about that. And that's what drives you. That's the Mars energy. That's what drives you. Um, you're very passionate about unseen things because the eighth house is what co-ruled by Pluto, right? So if it's co-ruled by Pluto, you're very passionate about unseen things or things that are hidden. You're very passionate about that. That's what drives you. You love to uncover things. You like to uncover things that are not apparent, you know? Um so that's what drives you, and you're very passionate about that. You might be very tactical in martial arts, but in a very tactical way, in a very strategic way, where it's not very seen. You know what I mean? You might do a lot of Martian like things from the unseen world. You know what I mean? Like from the underworld. Like you can be someone that is very passionate or very aggressive. You know what I mean? Like those type of things. Where it's like, you don't like to be seen. You're very smart about what you do. You know what I mean? Like that. Or it can manifest as um detectives. You're very passionate. You're like a detective. You want to uncover something. You know what I mean? So you're very passionate about that. You're very driven for that. You can also be very driven um in terms of who you merge with. That's the person that will drive you. You know what I mean? It can drive you to be someone that is very aligned. You know what I mean? It's like the twin flame energy. But you have to discover yourself first, and you have to be passionate about your desires and your internal passions and the unseen desires. You have to be passionate about that, and then that's when you'll find the person that is aligned with you. You know what I'm saying? Because Mars is more of like uh, the individual, and eighth house has to do with the merging. You know what I'm saying? So you have to merge with yourself, and the more you merge with yourself, that's when you'll find a mirror of a twin flame to merge with. You know what I mean? You guys are both yourselves, but you're coming together as one. That's the Aries in the eighth house energy. You can also be very passionate about you could be a very aggressive debt collector or something like that. Like you like to collect debts. So but you're very aggressive about it. You know what I'm saying? Or aggressive tenant. You know what I mean? You need your money now or there's gonna be problems. Um but yeah, eighth house has to do with the unseen world. So you're very, yeah, something where you or you could also manifest as like someone that is in this. sex working world. You know what I'm saying? Where it's something where you're Martian, because eighth house has to do with sex. You know what I mean? And you're very passionate about that, but it might not be something that a lot of people know, and you like to keep it hidden. You know what I'm saying? So that can manifest as that, being into the sex work world and things like that. And yeah, so yeah, now we'll go Mars in the ninth house. Mars in the ninth house, that has to do with expansion. So you're very passionate about expanding yourself, whether it's physically traveling, you're very passionate about traveling. You love to travel. Like that is something that gives you adrenaline to travel. You know what I'm saying? Or you're very passionate about your traveling skills internally. So you like to you like to debate a lot. You're very passionate about debating. So a lot of Mars in the ninth house people might manifest loving to debate in whatever topic it is, whether it's sports, music, philosophy, whatever it is. They're very passionate about teaching. They're very passionate about philosophy. They're very passionate about preaching. You know what I mean? So those are the type of like pastors in church that have that very aggressive preaching, but it's very captivative. You know what I mean? But they have it, yeah, they have that passionate tone to it, and it captivates a lot of people. So that's Mars in the ninth house. Um, Mars in the ninth house will also be someone that likes to, yeah, expand their mind, like any form of knowledge. They just want to learn. You know what I mean? They're very passionate about that. They're very passionate about expanding their mind, expanding their realms of reality, expanding the continents that they're traveling to. You know what I mean? That's Mars in the ninth house. They're very I would say also like they like to they like to yeah, they like to very they teach, you know what I mean? But they might sometimes be very dogmatic in their teaching because it's Mars. So it's very passionate, it's very aggressive. So they might not really like to listen to other people's perspectives sometimes. Like they might learn it, they might learn everything because it's still the ninth house, so it's still expansive. But then once they like what they like, they're very one track minded. You know what I mean? They're very straight up to it. You know, so they have to learn sometimes not to be too dogmatic and learn how to see other people's perspective in life.